All right, joining us now is Rich Marr, professor of political science at Randolph-Macon College. Rich, great to have you join us today. We appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, let's talk about this as the first general election we have seen since President Trump's return to the White House, often seen as a bellwether, and already we are getting results that we have a governor-elect Abigail Spanberger. What does this tell you about these races at this point?
Yeah, it's hard to know what the actual numbers are going to turn out to be, but I think the most significant number is the time. You know, as Chris said, this was called about 15 minutes ago. It's a pretty early call to decide this race. It suggests that the gap between Spanberger and Earl Sears is very big, and it's going to stay very big. So it's a big win for the Democrats this year. That's good news for the down ballot races, right? For Jay Jones, who's trying to hang on against Jason Miyares, and for Ghazala Hashmi, but also for some of these House races where the Democrats are trying to expand their lead in the House of Delegates. I mean, I think what this suggests to us is that the reaction against Trump, the good night for the Republicans, the good night for the Democrats, the bad night for the Republicans that we've been kind of predicting all year is actually coming to pass, and to a pretty significant degree if we're calling the race so early for Spanberger.
As a political science professor, I mean, we've known, as you mentioned, Spanberger's been in the lead in the polls all year. Are you surprised, or how surprised are you that it was called this early?
I'm not necessarily surprised, although it's a lot easier if you don't make any predictions before the race actually happens to say that. But I think that all the signs recently were pointing towards a big Democratic victory. Some of the polls were showing that maybe the Republicans would do okay, or that Miyares might win by a few percentage points, that even Sears would be close. But those polls, I think, we're having a tough time estimating who the electorate is. The electorate's changing every year. And I think a lot of folks were thinking, well, if the electorate looks like they do in 2024, this is how the race might turn out. But I think this electorate really is a 2017 electorate, a reaction against the election of Donald Trump. It's exactly what happened in 2017. We had a blue wave here in Virginia that swept the statewide races and gave a majority to Democrats in the House eventually. So I really do think that this is much more like what we saw in 2017, a reaction against Trump, a big surge of Democratic enthusiasm.
And with that being said, Professor, how big of a win is it for the Democrats tonight on a national stage in terms of how the other lawmakers, specifically on Capitol Hill, and the senators and the representatives, in their approach to the shutdown, and if there needs to be a compromise at this point, if there is kind of this momentum or this energy for the Dems?
Yeah, I think that there's some good good lessons here for the National Democrats, but they have to be careful, right? The shutdown hit really hard here in Virginia in a way it didn't hit in other parts of the country, right? With so many people in Northern Virginia who work and live, near DC, work in DC, that are part of the federal government, right? Anything that's happened, the shutdown and the DOGE cuts that happened earlier this year really created material effects on people in Northern Virginia. They really felt it viscerally. And if you didn't lose your job, maybe somebody else did. So I think that really turned people against the Trump administration here. That dynamic might not be so strong in, Montana or South Dakota or Texas or California even. So I think that the National Democrats have to be careful of taking too many lessons away from Virginia, because it's a pretty unique case here in its strength of reaction to the Trump administration.
And how about Winsome Earl Sears trying to get that Republican base? President Trump didn't campaign for her at all, didn't even mention her name. She was sitting front row in Norfolk a few weeks ago on a teleconference last night, didn't mention her name, only Jason Miyares, he explicitly, campaigned for. How much did that hurt Winsome Earl Sears, at least going for the base and the MAGA vote?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it hurt the base. I mean, I think it's more of it was a signal to national Republicans that maybe they shouldn't take Sears seriously as a challenger to Spanberger. I think it affected her fundraising. I think it affected her, endorsements from other Republicans. I think she had really won over the base, and certainly here in Virginia, she's very popular among Republicans. She's very good at the kind of retail politics. I think people here in the Commonwealth really, in the Republican Party, really like Winsome Sears, but she just never got that that over that hump of credibility, of sort of viability, so that the Trump administration, and particularly Donald Trump, who we've seen really likes to back winners, I don't think he ever felt that she had a shot here in the same way that Jason Miyares did. So that hurt her, I think, and just in terms of building more momentum and getting money from national donors.
Absolutely. Abigail Spanberger did outraise Winsome Earl Sears. Thank you so much, Professor Richard Meagher over at Randolph-Macon College. Thank you so much for your insight.